Welcome to this episode of the Kingsmith Podcast.
Hello.
Good evening. It is currently 8:52 when your hosts Zachary King and Nathan Smith are recording because
I'm Zach. That's Nathan.
you got that right. And yes, we are recording on a MacBook because
Reasons.
battery was dead on the camera and we were traveling and today kind of went but it's better. We really need to get our lives in order. Well, I do at the very least.
Oh, that's just obvious, man. All right. Today, we got an exciting episode for y'all today. We're gonna talk about a few things. We're gonna talk about the big subject we're talking about today is creation. So yeah, and we're gonna be talking about some of the theories and some of the stuff surrounding creation. And we also have a short movie review for y'all.
Yes, we do.
Nathan.
Yeah.
Last night we hung out a little bit.
Yes, we did, Zachary.
What did we do?
Well, we went and watched The Blind.
What is The Blind about, Nathan?
The Blind is about the story of Phil and Kay Robertson, who you might recognize from Duck Dynasty. And it's basically about their testimony about how God worked in their lives as a couple and also how God brought Phil back to him, really.
Right.
Well, how God brought Phil to him to begin with.
Yeah, it was a good movie. Like, overall, I know both of us had our problems with it.
Yeah.
Both of us have said there's a couple of shots in the movie where we were just like, it would have been cooler this way or that way.
There was a couple points in there.
It's a mark of our of us knowing a little bit about like editing overall and like film editing. One, I will say this. So spoilers for the movie, and spoilers for every Duck Dynasty episode ever. At the end of the Duck Dynasty episodes, as well as at the end of this movie, they do a prayer, where the family gathers around the table, along with employees, friends, neighbors, what have you. They gather around the table, have a big meal, and they pray before the meal.
Yep.
And this isn't really a gripe so much as it is. I thought it would have been cool. It's more of I thought it would have been cool if they did something.
Right.
I thought as they gathered around the table with the actor portraying a younger version of Phil, as they were praying, they transitioned into
the older, where they're at now.
Into where they're at now, the real Phil. I understand why
cool.
I understand why they did it that way. I think it was okay why they did it that way.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying it would have been cooler is as they prayed, they transitioned from one version of Phil to where he is now.
Yeah, where he is now. Well, I like what they did at the end. They included a picture of the whole Robertson family.
That's a big family.
Which is like, 60 people at minimum that was in that photo or something like that?
Yeah.
There was a lot of people in that photo, including all the grandkids and great-grandkids. And, like, goodness me. I looked up on the internet, so it's got an IMDb score of 6.4. I think that's a little low because Rotten Tomatoes and Fandango got it at 99%. People love this movie.
It's an amazing movie.
I give the movie a solid 8.
I give it an 8.5.
Yeah. I think what killed it for me, not what killed it. That's not
what lowered the score.
What lowered the score for me was it was only like an hour and 45 minutes long.
Right.
I think if it were like 2.5 hours or almost 3 hours, it would have been better. And if I'm gonna be real, the way that they make salvation out to be, they make it look like it's a baptismal regeneration.
Right.
Which is not what the Robertson clan believes.
No.
But I think they could have done better with that. Go ahead.
Again, we're not saying it's a bad movie at all. 8.5 is a good film. It's a good movie. Again, I think 2.5 hours is a good film. It's a good length for the film. And then if they wanted to extend it, another 15, 30 minutes, that last, like, I wouldn't mind the 3 hour movie.
Right.
Is if they have like the 2.5 hours as the actual movie, as the actual film, then the last 30 minutes being Phil, Kay, Alan, Jason, and
Right.
Willie just being like, okay, what was it like? What was it really like? Like having the like what they did in the Duck Dynasty show,
Mm-hmm.
like an interview type of thing, but not obviously less of The Office where they're playing it for comedy, and more of hey, what do you remember about that time?
Mm-hmm.
And having the family's candid reactions of where Phil was. They could have even
Right.
included Cy on that. Cy Robertson.
Yeah.
She's been like, okay, what was it like seeing your brother, your dad, your husband go through this?
They could have.
Phil, what was it like watching your...
I think that's going to be on YouTube.
Uh,
Because I know that on Instagram and social medias, they've been posting stuff like that, like debriefs and that kind of deal.
right. But
Yeah. I'm trying to find something on here about specifically what they believe on. What church do they go to? Sorry, you're watching me process and try
I'm
to get
watching you
information.
process.
Uh,
Sorry, guys, we're processing stuff. But anyway, the Robertson family is just amazing, though. To be honest, if you watch Duck Dynasty, watching them, like obviously in the show, there's a bunch of things played up for laughs.
White's Ferry Road. That's where they go.
White's Ferry Road.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
Phil Robertson.
Yeah, Phil Robertson's on there. Al Robertson. I think he's the pastor at White's Ferry, or a pastor. What is White's Ferry's? What we believe? Let's go to White's Ferry Road.
Yeah.
Oh man, okay. So the church that the Robertson clan goes to is White's Ferry Road, and I know that people are like, well, they think that, I just went on the Gospel Coalition, and they say, Robertson talks about salvation through Christ without mentioning baptism, but he belongs to a church that believes baptism is essential for salvation. I don't necessarily know that that's an accurate statement. The WFR Whites Ferry Road mission is WFR Church makes disciples who love God, love others, and share Jesus. About salvation. So we believe that salvation is by grace through faith in the gospel. Okay, I think that's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
God showed us his grace through Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection. It is that message that calls people to believe in the gospel and its power to save, turn from their sins, and confess Jesus as Lord, and be immersed in water, reenacting the death, burial, and resurrection. Which I think I could stand behind that. It says it is the message that calls people to believe in the gospel, and then go through the death, burial, resurrection. This is the message that was preached in the first century, beginning with Acts 2, and how people responded to this message. So I'm gonna go ahead and say no. I don't think they believe in, baptism saves. That's not what it says. It says salvation is by grace through faith.
And the Bible does say to go and baptize.
Yeah.
And be baptized.
I think
That's part of the Great Commission is going and baptizing, I think, if I remember right. Anyway.
So
that's...
I think it's just...
right.
The church, I think, the way they...
All right.
the way that they view things, they more follow the John style of baptism, where it's like you get saved and then you instantly get dunked. Which I don't know if I would hold to that, but at the same time, I think it's a fair... It's like a third or fourth, type of issue.
It's not. The Bible says to baptize. The Bible says to baptize. It never says when.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So that's where I'm at with it.
I think one thing we both agree on is, and this leads into the movie should have been longer. I think what we both agree on is they should have shown a little bit more of the creating of Duck Commander.
Yes, I agree with that.
I know it. I said we both agree on it. Will you stop looking at it at church, bro?
I like looking at stuff, okay?
Will you stop it, okay?
I'm sorry.
We're moving on, okay? There's
I know. All right. Bye, Phil.
Anyway, but yeah. The longer movie runtime would have led more to the Duck Commander aspect of Phil's life.
Right.
It would, as I said, it would have given time for interviews of the family of, Phil and Kay and Cy, especially the way they portrayed Cy and Phil's mother.
The way that they portrayed
their
Phil's mother was really sad. I think it's true. It's truthful, but it's sad.
It is sad, and I think that it would have lent, if they had gave him more time, it would have lent to the interviews where Phil was like, I remember my mother being this way, and so I was like, I corroborated.
Oh, I see what you mean with the interview. Have it inside the movie so that it jump cuts from each scene to scene, that kind of thing.
That could have been cool.
Oh, that would have been really cool.
And have that for Phil, Cy, and Kay.
Yeah. Maybe even the kids.
Then I would put the kids at the end. Just have Willie, Alan, and Chase.
Jeez.
I think most of the events of the movie were before Jep was born.
Yeah, Jep wasn't even. I don't think he was even included in the
movie.
In the movie,
I didn't see a forced kid running around. Anyway, I think that'll conclude our review of the Blind.
Sure.
The Robertson family movie. It is definitely worth a watch.
Definitely worth. I would go watch it.
Go watch it.
Disclaimer: if you have struggled with things in the past and have struggled with parental issues and that kind of thing and are traumatized by that, I would definitely think about that before watching.
Think about it? Yeah, definitely. Speaking as a person who has had parental issues,
right.
Definitely go if you're still close enough to the situation where there are certain things that'll, maybe trigger a certain negative response. You can either just wait to see the movie a little bit longer, or you can take a trusted friend with you and just be like, hey, I need someone there with me as I go through the movie.
Definitely be careful with it.
Yeah.
So that's all I got.
That's all I got
for that one.
Good movie. Go watch it.
Go see it. Do it.
Yeah. Anyway. So
all right.
This might be a longer episode, and not just because of the movie review that we just did, because this is such a big topic in the Christian faith. Even in like the not just like the Christian realm,
right?
But also just the world in general,
right?
It's such a big question of
creation,
of like how precisely did it happen. Disclaimer: I think both of us agree on this. If we don't, we
have problems.
We have problems because we're gonna be living together.
We went to the same school, so
we went to the same school,
and we work at the same church.
Right. So anyway, I think I can confidently say both of us hold to a literal 6-day creation of God created the earth in 6 days.
Yep.
And rested on the 7th.
Yep.
So yes,
agreed.
There is one day that you can just be like lazy and worship God and nothing else.
Yes.
Kind of.
Amen.
Anyway, the first thing I want to do is, Nathan, you have this pulled up on the.
Oh yes.
Yeah, something I can't do this pulled up.
I went to the Got Questions because
Got Questions is smart.
Go to Got Questions, unsponsored by the way. Just go watch watch them and read the articles because they're awesome.
God Questions is also a grad. The guy who made it.
Yeah, the guy who made it's a Calvary. He actually just spoke at our president's dinner at the college not too long ago.
Anyway,
just a few days ago.
But
shout out Shea Hoodman.
Shout out. come on the podcast one day. We'll have a little bit of fun. Anyway,
Shameless plugging for ourselves.
we have to get it in somewhere.
I know, right?
Speaking of shameless plugging, if you have not subscribed and hit the bell yet, go do that.
Do it.
If you have not subscribed to our Patreon yet, go do it.
Go do it.
Because we're poor.
We need money.
Just like
Actually, the business needs money, but you know.
As the song says, I'm just a poor boy from a poor family.
And see, don't start singing it. We might get copyright striked on everything.
Anyway.
But Moses. All right. Moses in the Pentateuch. He wrote that Genesis about, what, 3,400 years ago?
Probably.
So.
Good 600 years after the actual creation happened.
That's awkward.
That's kind of.
But, so, there's a couple different theories. We got day age. We've got theistic evolution. Atheistic. Well, it kind of is. But
atheistic evolution is a different topic. We'll tackle on another day.
And we also have the gap theory, which is a little bit newer, which honestly it makes no sense to me why it exists.
Not me either.
It's like
anyway,
it's theistic evolution, just less stupid.
Yeah.
But more stupid at the same time.
Anyway, so as you guys can see from these three theories, it's just they're like, oh, did creation really happen in 6 days? Yes, it did.
Yes, it did. We can prove that fairly easily, actually.
Right.
I'm loading up my Bible program right now, but let's talk about the word day, Zachary. What does the word day mean?
The word day, at least in the English language, I know we'll probably get into the Hebrew a little bit later.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get up here.
The word day in the English language means a period of 24 hours, right?
It does mean a period of 24 hours.
Your computer's being stupid.
Yeah, my computer is not computing. Hold on, I've got iPad that computes better than my
computer.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my question: if you guys are if you are a theistic evolutionist or a day age theorist, we'll get to gap theory here in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to separate that in, but if you are a day age theorist, a theistic evolutionist, is since the Bible translators translated the word. What's the word, Nathan? What's the
Yom?
Yom. Translated the word Yom into day
Mm-hmm.
in the English translation. This is across the board, by the way.
Yeah.
From KJV all the way to CSBs, which is what I'm using, to ESV Bibles. It's
day.
Yom is translated as day. So if every translator up until now has a consensus that the word Yom equals the word day, when did the term for day, whether it's in Greek, Hebrew, English, Pig Latin,
I don't know when it would have changed.
When did it change? When did the term for day change from however many years an age is to 24 hours? When did we start changing that? That's my question.
It doesn't happen.
That's a big question.
Unless it's a Levitical law, where the weeks thing kind of gets a little weird. But even then, that's actually explained. So, deal with it.
I have a second question.
I have a second answer.
Well, you probably don't have an answer for this one.
Here, actually, I'm gonna give this to you. This is in notes mode, so all you have to do is tap on the word, and then you can tell what it is.
Right. Anyway,
I got it pulled up on my computer.
So day age theory is, every day is an age.
Mm-hmm.
That's stupid.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
There's another argument against it, though. What is the word in verse 5 of Genesis 1? What is the word right before day, or yom?
Verse 5 of Genesis 1. God called the light day. Light, isn't it?
No, right before the word right before day.
In the evening and the morning. There was evening and there was morning, one day.
One. Well, let's take a look at the word one. The word one is echad in Hebrew. and it is a numeral taken from H258. Properly united, that is one, or as an ordinal, first. Alike, alone, altogether, a piece, certain. It's, guys, it means one.
It means one.
It's a
that's very
numeral. So,
Um,
if echad means one, and then you have the word yom after that,
So
it
one
would be
day.
one day. And actually, yom actually literally means from sunrise to sunset, or from one sunset to the next. So
Which
it's
is-
actually a space of time.
Right.
It's a time measurement,
It's a time measurement.
and that's how they would have measured it. Is from
So it's a
sunset
time.
to
You're
sunset.
saying
It's sunset to sunset,
it's a
which are 24.
sunset to sunset. So it's a time measurement. When did we start misunderstanding a time measurement of sunset to sunset for thousands of years? I think
I don't know.
the
that
the
doesn't
verse.
make sense to
I
me.
think it's somewhere somewhere else in the Pentateuch where they say a day to God is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. I'm going to dismantle that argument right now. God is outside of time,
Mm-hmm.
which means if the Earth is between 6 and 10,000 years old, like most of the
Right.
like most
Right.
young Earth
Right.
creationists believe it is. They could be wrong. It could be older than that. I'm not gonna. This is not against like the Earth being older than it actually is. But would we have had an accurate record of basically the entire history of the Israel people if it was more than 10,000 years?
Yep.
Probably not.
Yeah. No way.
Anyway,
All right.
God is outside of time. So that means God does not view time the same way that we do.
Exactly. Well, and Zachary, I just did a quick word search on the word yom throughout the Bible.
Oh my gosh, you can do that?
That's why I have a Bible program, y'all. But the word yom is found in 19. Let's see. Let me read it this way. 1,921 verses with 2,267 word matches. Let's just look at one of these word matches out of the blue random. Let's see. Genesis 5. So all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died.
Wait, hold on. Nathan.
So
So, you're telling me
H1337 is the word.
you're telling me
H3117.
that in the space of 5 chapters, the word Yom went from thousands of years to actual days? In 4 chapters. Well, 5, almost 5.
If anyone's listening on the interwebs, on the Spotify, you have to watch the YouTube video because we both have our glasses down staring at the camera.
Like disappointed teachers or parents or both.
But, I mean, look, everyone agrees with how long that Adam, Seth, Enosh, Kenan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, and Lamech lived, right?
Right.
So why do we agree
Either-
on that, but not on Genesis 1? It's the same word.
Either Methuselah was a lot older than we thought he was, or
Methuselah over here is like a few billion years old.
just like, hey kids, I was there. I was a fish a couple years ago. No,
Oh, man.
but anyway,
Okay, that's funny.
why do we agree on? Yeah, that's that point. Why do we agree on that when
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Okay, so I think we've thoroughly disproven day age theory.
I think it's. I don't think it works.
It doesn't work, especially since.
In Genesis 8:6. Then it came about at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark that he had made. So
Oh wait. So
40 days, 40 nights, right?
40 days, 40 nights.
Mhm.
So either they were in there for like 40,000 years. That would have been That would have been
Which
depressing.
I don't think the math actually works that
That-
way.
that- it
for,
doesn't work.
For Abraham. He would have...
It doesn't work.
Noah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, he
Noah would have been old as heck.
Noah would have...
He was old as heck.
He was ancient. I want to find something outside of Genesis.
It's fine.
Let's go to something that's outside of even the Pentateuch. There's the Deuteronomos.
To Deuteronomy, or as the Good and Special Book calls it, rules the second time. The Hawaiian Pigeon is amazing, y'all. Y'all should go read a few verses.
It's fantastic.
Shout out to 2K, the guy who showed us the Hawaiian Pigeon. I'm sorry, 2K. I'm not going to try and pronounce your last name because I can't, because I'm stupid.
Kitalawai, I think is how you say it.
We'll ask him when we have him on the podcast. 2K. Podcast. Eventually.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Maybe. Possibly. We'll see. Anyway.
Let's see.
Where are you?
I think Judges 18.
Judges 18.
Yeah, it's not the best. Let me find... Because sometimes it says stuff like, to this day, or something like that.
Right.
Which is still accurate, actually, but it's... Here, look at 1 Samuel 12:17. Is it not the wheat harvest today? Which is the same H3117. Or in 1 Samuel 13:8, now he waited 7 days according to the appointed time set by Samuel, but Samuel did not come to Gilgal, and the people were scattering from him. Actually, that's a great argument in 1 Samuel 13:8, because the appointed time was set. It had to have been 7 days there for that. So.
Oh, right. That was when King Saul was being.
Solly. Yeah.
Not the Saul that got qualified. Saul that.
King Saul that got sold.
He sold himself.
I know.
Anyway.
All right. That's enough of that. I'm sorry.
I think we have thoroughly proven.
I think even the gap theory we've kind of blown up too.
A little bit. We'll get to gap theory here in a minute. But before we do that, theistic evolution.
I can't.
No. And
death is required for that before the fall.
Death is required before the fall for that. You're right. And if death didn't happen until Genesis 3, when man fell,
then
it can't happen.
It can't be true.
No. I'm not saying that microevolution.
Oh, microevolution and adaptions even. I'm totally with. Right. Macro, though, at the level that's been taught, no, I can't.
We're just simultaneously disproving theistic evolution and evolution at the same time, because
it's the same thing. That's the problem.
You're just inserting God into evolution.
Which
can God use evolution to accomplish his goals? Yes. God can do anything.
But it's recorded what happened.
It's recorded.
It didn't.
It says, in the beginning God created, not in the beginning God evolved.
Yeah. Or not in the beginning God caused evolution on the heavens and the earth. Well, and if theistic evolution is true, then that means heaven also had to evolve.
Right.
But that actually doesn't work, because in the book of Job, you see the angels are there before the creation of the earth, correct?
Right.
So it doesn't work.
Right. And
I didn't think about that till just now, actually.
And a question.
Mm-hmm.
If we evolved from apes, we evolved from something else, we evolved from something else, back to the initial single-celled organism. If we evolved and survival of the fittest, evolutionary theorists, theistic evolutionary theorists, I'm going to ask you an important question right now. If we evolved from apes all the way back to our initial generation, why is every previous generation still existing?
Still alive. What? Yeah, that's a great question, Zach.
If every previous if we evolved to survive the world, to survive
it doesn't make
nature,
sense, man.
Why are all the previous generations still here?
Doesn't make sense, man.
Also, something I just thought of.
Mm-hmm.
If there is a missing link between us and apes and between apes and the previous generation, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
If there's a missing link between each generation, why haven't we found any fossils?
The fossil record doesn't work. They tried to say like Lucy or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But they've even proven
okay.
that that's a mashup of bones. That doesn't
Okay. So, even if we take Lucy as fact, okay, let's take the one fossil. If there has been several generations between, let's say there's like 2 generations between us and apes, why are we only finding one fossil that proves it? Why only one? There should be more.
And we don't even know, like, could that have been a birth defect? Could some of it have been birth defects? Could have been, well, they know that it's multiple fossils put together. They just won't admit it. Like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Okay. I think that's theistic evolution.
I think that's enough.
That's enough for
gap
that.
theory.
So the gap theory is there's a gap between Genesis
1:2
1:1 and 1:2.
Yeah. Yeah, it says on here that gap theory is an interpretation of Genesis 1, which puts a time lapse between the empty, dark, and watery earth of verse 1:2 and the first divine fiat, which is God said, "Let there be light," in verse 3. And they keep saying that there's like gaps and stuff in between. I don't know how that works.
I don't know how that works either. It's basically day age theory, but not.
It's not day age theory because they believe the days are actual days, but they're just like, oh yeah, on this day God did something, and then a bajillion years happened, and then another day happened. So they basically treat the days as time markers.
Right. From
what I can tell. Correct me if I'm wrong, YouTube comments.
Yeah, and from what I understood of it is, this might be a variant of it, from what I saw, but there I think I can confidently say there is a variant of gap theory where it's again between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2, not 1 and 2, but verses 2 and 3, where the world was without void and was without form.
Right.
And they're like, oh, God destroyed the earth and made it new again. How many times did God do that before he was like, okay, I will let these events play out? If gap theory is true, if that variant of gap theory is true, where God destroyed the earth because of sin and then brought it back, how many billions of souls are already in heaven because Jesus already came down and died? How many versions of the Bible are there?
That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense, does it? Because I have number one.
Mm-hmm.
If between verses 2 and 3 of Genesis 1, God destroyed the earth,
right?
Who says that if we mess up again, he wouldn't destroy us again?
Well, we know it's getting destroyed at least one more time, but
we know it's getting. Okay, we know it's getting destroyed. We know the flood happened. Okay.
Yeah, the flood happened, and then he promises not to do it again.
He promises not to do it again, and the events of the tribulation and new heaven and new earth are coming. So we know God will have destroyed the earth at least twice. Once by water, and the second time by whatever means he sees fit.
Yeah, by the melting process.
Yeah, but anyway, so we know the earth
has it's gonna go.
We know it's gonna go. But
gap theory doesn't.
But gap theory, like, it doesn't make sense, especially in terms of the gospel.
It doesn't work.
It does not work because if Jesus has already come down to save man once, why does he need to do it again and again and again and again?
I don't understand it.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because you're creating a time lapse where there's no need to create a time lapse.
Right. It's like the Marvel Cinematic Universe with the multiple timelines, and
that's why time travel is tricky. Don't do it unless you have to. Anyway.
Don't do it unless you have to. Not that it's possible, but
that is possible.
you know, I mean, God is technically outside of time. However,
Okay.
He created time.
Okay.
So
Brief like time travel caveat. My belief is that before man gets even gets close, even gets a whiff of being able to time travel, God will stop us.
yeah, we would be done.
I think God will stop us before time travel is achieved.
Right.
Why? Because then we could just mess with the entirety of history willy nilly and change everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I want time travel to exist so I can go back and slap Adam before he eats the fruit? Yeah.
Here's okay. So, in regards to gap theory and all the other theories that we've discussed, chapter 2 is actually the best argument.
Right.
Because in chapter 2 it says, I'll read verses 1 to 3. This is out of the NESB. It says, thus the heavens and the earth were completed and all their hosts. And by the seventh day God completed his work, which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which God had created and made. Now let me ask you this. So God, he created the 7-day system.
Right.
If the gap theory or theistic evolution or any of these other day whatever type things exist,
doesn't mean day
whatever. If all of those are true, then why did he command the Israelites to follow a 7-day period, and on the 7th day, why did he require and mandate a Sabbath? Why? It doesn't make sense. It follows the pattern of creation.
Right.
So
it
doesn't work.
The reason it works, if it's a little 7-day system, as we believe it is.
It's the only way that works.
It's the only way it works. The only way it works is that God spent 6 days working on creation, and then on the seventh
day he was chilling.
He was
maxing and relaxing.
He's like, yo, I'm just gonna exist.
He's just gonna be like, look at the system I set up. Look at my Minecraft village over there. Look at
and he declared it good after every day.
Yes, he did.
So we've talked a lot about the theories surrounding creation, why they don't work. Let's talk about creation itself.
Yeah.
By definition, I won't say. By definition is probably the wrong page. Okay, but by my understanding, I'll say it that way.
Okay.
By my understanding, Zach King's understanding, y'all.
The Zach King translation.
Get ready for Fourth Kings.
All right, go for it.
By my understanding, creation is the first recorded miracle of God.
I would agree with that, yes. I mean, it's a miracle that we're even here today talking about it. So, yes.
It's a miracle that God created this place.
And it's a miracle that he kept it.
It's a miracle that he kept it.
He didn't have to. He did not have to. He still doesn't have to.
What makes it even more of a miracle is for most of creation. Most, like 99.9% of it, creation, it records, God said that
God
there be.
God spoke it, and it came.
It was.
The only time it was with humans.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Ha!
God said, and it was.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Right.
And not just, willy-nilly and all over the place.
No, he said it was.
God said, let there be
the
planets, the solar system, the sun. And he took, and just by his words alone, Nathan.
Yes.
By his words alone.
Yes.
The planets were set into orbit.
Yep.
The Earth was set at precisely the right distance from the sun to support life.
Exactly. Yep.
Precisely the right distance from the other planets where their gravitational fields wouldn't affect us.
Yeah.
He said that there be stars in the sky that are far enough away to not affect Earth.
Right.
That Earth has an appropriate climate to support human life. Even if
he knew ahead of time.
He said that there be, and it was, to precise, specific
millimeters.
Dude,
imagine being able to just speak and have things be perfect.
Right.
Wouldn't that be convenient?
It would be convenient. Let me have.
My goodness.
Let me have the newest Samsung smartwatch.
Samsung.
See, I'm not a creator. It didn't happen.
See, let me have the newest Apple Watch. Oh, this is the SE1. So sorry, nope, nothing. Can't do it.
And that leads, and that lends that lends more support. That's another argument against theistic evolution.
Yeah.
Or at least evolution in general. This watch, old and dingy as it is,
it's only a few years, 2020.
that watch, a few years old as it is, and it's already outdated. But
that's okay.
The watch,
updates
Nathan's computer, this marker even, Nathan's laptop.
My laptop that's recording this right now. This Dunkin' Donuts coffee that is not sponsored but should be.
Every book we have in our library.
Look at. You know what? I can pick this up and show you. Look at our library.
Our library.
Everything that we have.
Yeah, everything that we have, everything that you own, was made by a designer.
Yeah.
Nathan.
Yes.
If I took your watch,
Mm-hmm.
well, okay, if I took the pieces for your watch, dumped them out on the desk here, and said, "Hey, speak the watch into existence," could you do it?
In my mind, maybe.
With your imagination.
My imagination.
Okay, we're not SpongeBob.
Come with me, and you'll be nowhere.
Nowhere. But yeah. So neither me or Nathan could take his Apple Watch that he has, his AC1. Neither of us could take it or take the pieces to it and build it to the exact specifications that it would need to work.
It takes time. It takes effort. It takes engineering.
And they're doing that with already out there.
This is already made material. God created the material.
God made it out of nothing.
He was just like, I'm God. Boom.
He's just like, hey.
There you go.
Hey, light, come on. Light came on.
He created all the material. Think about it. God created electricity.
He created electricity.
God created a system. And honestly, if it wasn't for that system, the very device that you're watching this podcast on right now would not work. If it was not for an engineered system, nothing would work. None of the laws of physics would matter. None of the properties of minerals would matter. None of
the periodic table would just be gone.
The periodic table wouldn't exist. It wouldn't need to exist. Why? Because, well...
the law of gravity. If the law of gravity would not work, I would be able to fly like Superman. And I'm built like Bob the Tomato.
If the law of gravity did not exist, we would be spinning around in circles, splattered everywhere. You're telling me that came out of nowhere?
That came out of nowhere.
I'm sorry. DNA structure.
And like I said, the Earth. Just take the Earth, the little dirt ball we're on now.
Mm-hmm.
It was set to the precise
distance from the sun.
From the sun.
Yep.
That it needed to be. Where it was still in the sun's gravitational pull, but where we wouldn't be
distance enough away to not bake us to death.
Not bake us to death. Not far enough away like Pluto where
we get froze.
It was the perfect distance from the sun to support life.
The only other planet that's even close to it is Mars, and even then it doesn't have... The water on it's frozen, guys.
Right.
Like, if you go more than a few feet outside of where we're at right now, we're screwed.
Right. It's the first miracle God made. It's not the greatest miracle, by no means. The greatest miracle, in my opinion, Nathan.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if you agree with this. The greatest miracle, to me, without a doubt, is the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Amen to that.
And the redemption story.
It's kind of up there with, the creation of us and everything.
Yeah.
I think they're like tied, because God, made us intricately, personally, and then He saved His personal creation. I think they're at the same level.
Yeah, I think they're at the same level.
Ooh, you know what we should do on Sunday night?
What?
For youth group? There's a video by Dr. Jason Lyle from Answers in Genesis that I think I want to show the kids.
If we're doing a creation thing, I'm gonna go off.
I
might take over, man.
Dude, Dr. Jason Lyle movies. I hope this comes up.
But anyway, while Nathan's looking for youth group stuff,
Astronomy stuff. Is that it? I don't think that's quite it.
I'm gonna hop
Really
back
off.
on the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Obviously, throughout Jesus' ministry, we see him doing miracles, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm
And-
listening. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
you
We,
did.
we see him doing miracles, right? We see him, and obviously throughout the Bible, we see God doing miracles of varying degrees and like awesomeness.
Mm-hmm.
And the a question some people have gotten, or some Christians have gotten, is how can miracles happen if with all the laws and stuff? One, God is sovereign. God created this entire thing. So if he wants to snort and part the Red Sea, he can.
You can. Yep.
If he wants to die and raise himself up from the dead,
Mm-hmm.
think about it.
Think about
Think about the resurrections we see in the Bible, Nathan.
it. Yes.
All other resurrections, separating Jesus' resurrection out, all the other resurrections we see require outside intervention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lazarus required Jesus to come forth.
Yep.
The Jairus' daughter required Jesus to come. And
Create a cosmos. That's what it's called.
there you go.
Sorry.
The
Is it a Pureflix?
Jairus' daughter required Jesus to come. I think Elijah resurrected a boy from the dead.
Yeah.
I think it was
He had
Elijah.
to like lay on him or something like that.
It was
I think.
Elijah or Elisha. One of those two.
Elijah.
Elijah. Yeah, it was Elijah. You're right. But yeah. So all the resurrections we see, and they're recorded in the Bible, y'all. I keep tapping my Bible because my Bible's right here. All the resurrections we see in the Bible,
I got it.
except for Jesus's,
It's a 20-minute video.
required outside intervention. Required someone else to say, "Hey, you're dead now. Come back to life."
Yep. Come back.
And
This
the
is
only
Back. Oh, sorry.
and the only way those resurrections could have happened is if the creator of the universe, the sovereign deity, Yahweh, God himself, came down
Mm-hmm.
and said, I'm briefly turning off the laws of death for a minute. Wake
Come
up."
back alive.
But what makes Jesus' resurrection so special, Nathan,
Yeah.
is one, there was no outside intervention.
There. I took a picture of the video that I need to show.
You want to know
Yeah.
why?
Why?
Because Jesus himself, as stated in John 1:1.
Yep. John 1.
John 1:1.
Yep.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
Yep.
So that means in the beginning was Jesus, and Jesus was God, was with God, and Jesus was God. So Jesus was the divine, sovereign, creator of the universe.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't need anybody else.
Use Jesus.
Rolled the stone back, freaked out the Roman guard.
Ah! That he did.
More about that when we do an Easter episode, another Easter episode.
Yep. Yep.
Because we needed, the last one we did, we talked about like the crucifixion and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We need to talk about the resurrection a bit more. Anyway, but yeah.
Created Cosmos. That's the movie I've been thinking about for a long time.
So yeah, it's amazing. Why I put Jesus coming down, sacrificing himself,
Mm-hmm.
dying, coming back a little bit above creation,
Right.
in my opinion, is he created us, yes, and that's amazing.
Right.
He created us intricately, amazingly.
Right. Right.
The Psalms, David says in one of his Psalms,
Mm-hmm.
I am fearfully and
Wonderfully made. Yep. Yep.
But for the sovereign creator deity of the universe
Mhm.
to come down and sacrifice himself for me,
Yeah.
as Paul calls himself, and I'm going to use Paul's quote because
Yeah.
it doesn't stop at Paul.
Right.
For Jesus, the sovereign creator of the universe, to come down for me, the chief of sinners is mind.
It's insane. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Not to mention, okay, so now that we've referenced it a whole bunch, I think we should talk about how God created humans.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So Genesis chapter 2.
Genesis chapter 1, actually. There's accounting 1 and 2.
Yeah. But
So-
chapter 2 is when it gets fun.
I'm gonna read 28 to 31. No, 26 to 31 in Genesis chapter 1.
Okay.
This is
NASB.
no CSB. This is my
Oh,
Tony-
it's the Christian Standard. Ooh,
Okay.
what do I have for my size?
this is my Tony Evans Bible. I have a Tony Evans Bible and you don't. Anyway, so verses 26 to 31 of Genesis chapter 1. Then God said, "Let us," Evidence-
Elohim.
evidence
Trinity.
of the Trinity, "let us make man in our image according to our likeness. They will rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and the livestock, the whole earth." By the way, that little phrase, veganism out the door.
Yep.
Because we are commanded to rule over everything, not just the plants.
We do.
And the creatures that crawl on the earth. So God created man in his own image. He created him in the image of God. He created them, male and female. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, have kids.
Yep.
Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it. Rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and every creature that crawls on the earth." God said, "Look, I have given you every seed-bearing plant on the surface of the earth, of the entire earth, and every tree whose fruit contains seed. This will be food for you, for all the wildlife of the earth, for every bird of the sky, and for every creature that crawls on the earth, everything having the breath of life in it, I have given
Yep.
every green plant
For food. Yep.
And it was so. God saw that he had made, and it was very good.
Evening and
Indeed.
morning.
Evening and morning, and that was the sixth day.
Now, we read the beginning of chapter 2 already.
We read.
So I'm going to start in verse 4 of chapter 2. Now, these are the records of the heavens and the earth concerning their creation at the time that the Lord made the earth and the heavens. And then verse 7, then the Lord formed the man out of dust from the ground and breathed the breath of life into his nostrils. And the man became a living being. Okay? And the Lord God planted a garden in Eden and in the east, and there he placed the man he had formed. He had formed, guys. The Lord formed personally mankind. Okay? The Lord caused to grow out of the ground every tree pleasing in appearance and good for food, including the tree of life in the middle of the garden, as well as the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which is
A problem.
yeah. Now,
Definitely not going to side eye at him when I get bad.
oh, I'm gonna slap everything out of him before.
God's
We'll
gonna
be
stop.
perfect. We're not gonna do it. God's gonna slap us first before we can even get to Adam.
Then we're going to be like, "Lord, can we do one thing before we go into heaven?"
No.
Adam, come here. That's for one and everything. Anyway, keep going.
Verse 20. The man gave names to all the livestock and to the birds of the sky and to every wild animal. But for the man no helper was found as his complement. So the Lord God caused a deep sleep to come over the man, and he slept. And God took one of his ribs and closed the flesh at that place. And then the Lord God made that rib which he had taken from the man into a woman and brought her to the man. And the man said, "This one at last is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. This one will be called woman, for she was taken from man. This is why a man leaves his father and mother and bonds with his wife, and they become one flesh. Both the man and his wife were naked, yet felt no shame." So that means by naked, they were unclothed. There was no shame attached to the word until, chapter 3 when they
Next chapter.
started snacking on, stuff.
Things.
But
That's why I don't get Apple.
Conversation
That's why I don't get Apple.
Hey, we don't know that it was an apple. We just know that it
That's
was a
fair.
fruit. It was a fruit.
But how many fruits grow on trees?
You know what? How many stupid people are there in the world?
A lot. Including
I know that, me especially.
Bingus and Bongus here.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
All right, I think I've got enough on that. I think my energy is out
Well,
here.
I'm gonna keep going for a little bit.
You're gonna keep going?
I'm gonna keep going. I have a little
man.
bit more to say.
What else we got?
Nathan,
Yes.
how important do you think we are so far? We just read. For right now, we have just read the first two. We have basically just read the first two chapters of Genesis. How important do you think mankind is to God in those two chapters?
Kind of important, I mean, he personally created us and died for us, and
Right. Okay, excluding the Gospels, we know we're important to God because He came down. And
I mean, he
saved us.
created a helper for man, so
Yeah.
for
But-
men, I should say.
God tells us we are important from the beginning, from the
jump.
from the first chapter of the Bible. He says you are important.
Yep,
Because what did He do, Nathan?
he made us
Yes,
personally, very personally. He has a whole chapter dedicated to us.
but not only that. In chapter 1 specifically,
Mm-hmm.
he says. Chapter 1 is dedicated to. It's basically the rush job of the creation.
Right. It's the
It's God saying, "Let there be," and it was. Right.
Yeah.
The only piece of creation that God did not say, "Let there be," and it was mankind.
Yeah.
Isn't that a miracle,
Yeah.
Nathan?
That's a miracle. That's a miracle, Zach.
The only piece of creation. Now we don't know when He created the angels. Angels, I'll be fair,
Well, Job kind of tells us a little bit.
a little bit, but
It is confusing, though.
it is confusing. We don't know exactly when He created the angels. I'll say it that way.
I argue that it was at the same time as the heavens were created, but
Right.
that's separate.
That's a separate thing. Look forward to our episode on angels, y'all.
Oh man! Oh, angiology. We
We're-
know woefully little about
Yeah.
angiology.
But in the whole of physical creation, God, most of the time, God said, "Let there be," and it was.
Yep.
Then He was like, "No." Verse 26 of chapter 20 of chapter 1. God said, "Let us make man."
Right. Right.
He didn't say, "Let there be man."
Let
and
there-
it
yeah.
was. God said,
He said,
"Let
"Let us
make man."
let us." That's important, y'all. That's important.
And then, obviously, what Nathan read in chapter 2 was it shows that it shows even more how important
Yeah.
we are, right?
Yeah.
Because it shows
We see.
it shows God
Mm-hmm.
not only saying,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, man, I made you
Mm-hmm.
in creation." It says, "Hey, I came down to the dirt and personally formed you like a potter
Yeah.
forming clay."
Yeah.
Not only that, when I saw you needed a helper, man. This is not. I'm not literally saying I'm God, because I'm not, and I'm not saying that Nathan is Adam, because he's
No.
not.
Well, I'm worse than Adam.
Well,
You know.
Paul says we're the chief. He's the chief sinner. I think I'm inclined to agree that I'm the chief sinner.
I was gonna say, Paul. You know what? I'll fight you for that record.
Anyway, I'm doing this as a
right.
visual representation.
Let's
of,
do it.
Of what I think happened. What I think God was saying here in
Mhm.
these two chapters. He's saying, man, He's saying to us, man, I'm not only saying I differentiate you from the rest of creation by saying that us make man.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna differentiate you even more by saying I came down and formed you out of the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And when I noticed that all the other creatures in the world
Had a partner.
had a partner, had a companion, had a helper,
You didn't have one, bro.
you didn't have one, so I put you to sleep. Took a rib,
Took a rib.
and made woman. Where was that rib to begin with, man?
It's probably like down here at the very bottom.
Probably, yeah. So He took a rib out of man. He says, "I made a helper for you."
Yep.
And then Adam went and blamed her for all the whole thing. Which
Well, why would you blame your rib for that? That's
ribs.
God. It wasn't me. It was the rib that did it.
Anyway,
The one that the rib that you made. Come on, dude.
but
Like for real.
anyway, how special is that God, not only in one shot in the chapter of creation, in chapter 1, took time, pause, and as I'm assuming he's accounting to Moses, pause and was like, hey,
Right.
most of the stuff I said that there be, and it was.
Right.
For man, this is what I
This
did.
is what. Yeah.
And here's an even deeper explanation, Moses.
And even that, but he also made man the caretaker of the world.
Right.
Like, oops, sorry. He made man the caretaker of the world. Who are we? He made us in his image, which is already big enough. That's
It's
huge.
already big enough.
He personally formed us. He set us in charge. He created a system where we operate it, and we still operate that system, just a marred version of it because we screwed it up.
Right.
But we still operate within those rules,
Mhm.
Zach, which should tell us how important we are to God,
Right.
that he would...
And
But how many times are angels counted for in Genesis, in the creation account?
none.
They're not until Satan shows up, which should tell you something.
Okay. It says even more about why Jesus came down.
Exactly.
So, for those of you who are familiar with like medieval, early 1800s, you know,
Yeah.
this is the last thing.
This is the last bit. I gotta get to bed. It's getting late.
Yeah.
I still have a half-hour drive.
Yeah. If any of you are familiar with, I'll use blacksmithing.
Uh-huh.
So, medieval, early 1800s blacksmiths, what they would do
Mm-hmm.
to prove something was made by them, is they would take like a branding iron, something you would use for branding cattle and stuff.
Yeah.
They would take a branding iron, and if they made a cup, they would turn the cup, like put it on the bottom of the cup, take the bottom,
of the cup.
and mark it.
Yep.
So when God made us, when God made man, it was like him marking the
us.
cup.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use an analogy from God of War. God of War 2018. So, in that story, spoilers for God of War 2018, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
there are two blacksmiths. Oh, I can generalize it. There are two
Do
blacksmiths
it.
that basically shared their mark and then split up.
Mm-hmm.
They come back together, and the mark is different. Right?
Right.
So, the salvation, the gospel, is God taking another brand and basically marking us again.
Yeah. I mean, look at DNA. It's our,
The mark
it's
is
our DNA.
different.
Yeah.
The mark is different when we get saved.
Well, what do
But
you think?
the mark is still there.
What do you think Satan wants to do? The mark of the beast
Mm.
as a
Yeah.
physical marker
Right.
or a chip marker or something, however he wants to do it.
However,
Why do you think he wants to mark people? He wants to mark people as his, to mar us, so that we are no longer gods at that point in time.
right.
Just something to think about, y'all.
It's something to think about.
All right,
So that's our views on creation.
we
y'all.
gotta go.
Again, last minute plugs.
Patreon.
Subscribe. Bell thing for notifications.
Yep.
We are moving soon. So
We are moving in a couple weeks here, and yes, we'll have better studios, and it's gonna be less
Well, but-
disjointed.
We'll have a better studio. And yeah, you probably won't see that studio until we're unpacking.
So we're done. Yeah,
Until we're done.
it's gonna take a minute.
It's going to take a few weeks. We might have a few episodes pre-recorded in this studio
Mm-hmm.
until we get that studio set up and we get everything in the house where we want it.
Yep. Yep.
Otherwise, love you guys.
Peace.
Peace.
Love ya. Bye.
Quack.
Ah.